My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is stalking. This is Woodside Senior Apartments. The entity is stalking by helicopter and by commercial airline planes. This is the P.O.C. And that's the entity that's maintaining surveillance. And guess what's said? You already know. It is indeed the fake sun. Everybody in this apartment complex is engaged in criminal surveillance. They're all monitoring my vagina. And as my evidence shows, the fake sun is over me at this pool area during the 9 a.m. hour, as I documented in 2025. The entity is stalking me by helicopter, as I'm showing you in the morning while I'm walking on this very sidewalk, and the fake sun is over me at 7 in the morning. This same neighborhood where I'm walking to Upland on Euclid Avenue, coming from this apartment complex, home from this neighborhood where the entity is stalking by helicopter. This is the entity that is very much indeed suicidal. They will be subject to what is martial law because they are a suicidal, mentally ill population that are engaged in what is wasting millions of dollars on stalking and monitoring somebody that's publishing every minute, every moment of it on the internet in order for the prosecution of a government body and a population that's engaged in systematically murdering people, stalking them and torturing them like the city of Ontario is doing. This is the prosecution of a mayor, of a police department, a fire department, and you know what AMR is doing as well, stalking with the city of Ontario. The entity is doing this while there is no pattern of conduct, nothing other than the pattern of conduct where you have what is a supernatural environment. This is indeed the P.O.C, and this is the evidence that everybody in the apartment complex is engaged in criminal surveillance, and where you do so systematically. This is the law. Systematically, as employees, are going to prison. Systematically, as residents, you're going to prison. And Woodside Senior Apartments engaged in more than one kidnapping. They've engaged in years of criminal surveillance. This entire apartment complex is going to be emptied out. They're all going to be homeless. And those that are engaged in gang stalking, as I've documented, units 33 through 64, they're all going to prison. They engage in 24-hour vagina monitoring while I was here from November 2024 until May 29, 2025, where the entity that's stalking by helicopter and planes, the Ontario police who you see are stalking, engaged in kidnapping. All right, this is the P.O.C. So I want you to see the mentally ill that have admitted to lying about my character, engaged in what is trying to steal my identity and steal my wealth while they were stalking like me. This is the prosecution of Alan D. WAPNER. Have you been paying attention to the news? Kurt Hagman was raided. They're maintaining an investigation, and I'm gonna let you know what's gonna happen. This is the criminal activity that Kurt Hagman has been engaged in for years. Criminal activity, San Bernardino County of the city of Ontario. The entity that's engaged in what is the pattern of conduct, Kurt Hagman, a terrorist that's a part of the airport authority, where the entity's maintaining what is knowledge of every plane that is paid for and is used to stalk me. And the Alan D. Wapner, the Ontario International Airport, is engaged in that pattern of conduct with the demons that are stalking me in helicopters. Okay? This is the P.O.C. This is what the mentally ill do. They tell on themselves. And this is exactly what's going to be committed. And they're working in the medical field, they're getting committed. They're working in law enforcement, they're getting committed. They're working in the legal field, the legal profession, they're getting committed. All right? They are a part of a population that's engaged in criminal activity. This is the P.O.C. You already know the fake sun is documented while the property manager is stalking me as a part of her job, as I was documenting, and with Avalanche Capital Management as a management company. It doesn't matter whether you change a management company, you're being federally prosecuted for what you engage in. And it's merely a different name. It's like Timothy and Alicia engaging in the same pattern of conduct. Both of them are gang stalking and they're both being prosecuted. But the entity's engaged in this while the fake sun is over me at what is sunrise, 6:33 a.m. The entities engaged in this, and this is serving to prosecute the entirety of the Ontario Police Department who committed kidnapping. May 29, 2025. Look at the video, because they're going to prison. They're not just going to prison. They engaged in what is kidnapping, what they thought was strategic under the Welfare and Institutions Code. And they not only lied, they engaged in what is trying to frame me for a criminal activity that this entity, a cult. The cult members are the military and in law enforcement, and they're every single last one are going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:14 p.m. This is what is recognized as psychological torture surrounding me with plane activity. There's no airport, no terminal where planes are going to hover over G Street. This is facilitating venue. That's why this whole neighborhood's being prosecuted. And the entity's on the other side with helicopter while the fake sun's over me. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:15 p.m. The prosecution for psychological torture will entail what is a population that is being exposed for levying war and furtherance of murder. And this entity that has intentionally engaged in what are multiple acts of attempted murder while they've been trying to defame my character in order to get away with what is permanently kidnapping me in an institution in order to defame me as one being mentally ill under the Baker Act. That is speaking to what is necessarily going to be repealing that unlawful, invalid, unconstitutional legislation where the government itself is the criminal and is engaged in what is defamation, and then masquerading that as the practice of law, the practice of medicine. How many times? You're talking about multiple videos of stalking by helicopter here. They're engaging in surveillance. They're monitoring my vagina. This is an illegitimate government body. P.O.C. That's helicopter activity. The entity that wants you to see them flying at a distance is an entity that's engaged in what is stalking me, knowing that they're on video. The entity that is flying over the mountain in relevant position to me while the fake sun is over me. The entity that's flying over the top of my head while the fake sun is over me. The entity that's flying in circles around me while the fake sun is over me. The entity that is stalking in any sort of relevant positioning while the entity is stalking by commercial planes, where it is entirely targeting by that airport and that city, is being federally prosecuted. The identity of the terrorists that are stalking in helicopters, not only are they they're not going to prison, they're going to mental institutions. And that identity will be produced. The government's going to produce it. The entity, and it's going to be produced to the public as well, because this is prosecuting domestic terrorism in the United States. The United States government engages in what is levying war by stalking American citizens in helicopters, stalking them in commercial planes, and these terrorists will be identified. The positions that they held while they were engaging in terrorism will be exposed, and that entity will be subject to a public means of prosecuting them and having them committed, so that everybody understands what's going to happen when you're stalking, like the U.S. military and like the Ontario Police Department are. You saw two of their faces, C. Gerber and A. Ornelas. They're getting committed. Remember what they did on camera. They engaged in turning the vehicle lights on the police vehicle. They engaged in criminals. Those demons started acting out as I was capturing video after I didn't laugh at their unfunny jokes while their gang stalking me in furtherance of murder. They engaged in what is stalking in the path under the fake sun. The demons started pacing in the sky space with commercial planes, started dipping and flipping and U-turning in those planes, and then engaged in what is turning on the vehicle lights that shows you how meaningless the lights on the police vehicles in the city of Ontario is. They're not engaged in law enforcement. It is criminal summoning. It's light activity. In the same way that they flip it on regarding what is monitoring me while they're stalking. Turning on the vehicle lights is nothing other than exposing you as a stalker in a police vehicle, which is a mandatory basis of federal prison. This is what the entity is doing while they are exposing what is a basis for being committed. The entity that is engaging in that is one that is going to be involuntarily committed, not just put in what is federal prison. All right, this is P.O.C. The entity engaged in what is flying at a distance, and I'm resuming recording while they flew right over the top of my head. I am the focus. Everybody already knows that. This is the entity that's going to compensate. Avaneth Capital Management is going to compensate, okay? Avaneth Capital Management is being criminally prosecuted. Avaneth Capital Management is going to be prosecuted under every other area of federal law as well, including being barred from participating in federal housing programs. You will not, as a gang stalking property management company, participate in any federal housing program, and you will not, as any gang stalking resident, participate in any federal housing program. And this is an entity that's going to be all of these demons are going to be removed. This property period is going to be vacated because of that. It's a HUD housing program. And the entity, those that are gang stalking like they are now, they're going to prison. Units 33 through 64 are still going to prison. That has not changed. And you're seeing why that is worthy, because they are still gang stalking while the entity is targeting me. Remember, Ontario Police, the military are stalking me at this same apartment complex while Tracy Banks is in the kitchen during the 8 a.m. hour under the fake sun that's over her apartment, Unit 51. Unit 51's on the opposite side of this same laundromat where the entity is stalking me now at what is 5:20 p.m. They're all going to prison, and they will be committed, and everybody's going to be homeless regardless. They're not staying here. This is the P.O.C. And this is the entity that's just engaged in ongoing stalking and obsession with me. The entity is not only mentally ill, they are addicted to stalking me. And I'm showing you the department names. I'm showing you their faces. I'm showing you what is their locations, and the entity that is severely deranged. Remember, the entity's keeping a fake sun over the Upland Public Library at the same time while the entity is stalking me at the laundromat at Woodside Senior Apartments, and doing so in the most psychotic manner in planes and helicopters with a population of exposed stalkers. This is the P.O.C. It's 5:21 p.m. I want you to listen to a terrorist that's gang stalking me with an entity by helicopter. What happened?
I thought you were at that one. I don't use this one.
We came to this one last time. What are you talking about?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did.
No, we did. We went over there.
Oh, you don't remember? Are you failing in memory? This is the only laundromat we came to. It's right here next to the apartment building. It's the same one by the pool. What other laundry room is there?
Whatever you want.
Oh, okay. Well, are you putting it in the machine already? Oh, thank you.
This one for the towel now.
Okay. And this is while the helicopter activity is clapping in the background. Psychopathic pacing, okay? This is what the commercial airline planes accomplish as they have plane after plane after plane after plane. The mentally ill engage in psychopathic pacing by flying in circles by helicopter as well. This is the entity that's engaging what is psychotic breaks that I document. They have breakdowns on video. This is mentally ill behavior upon criminal activity. While the entity paces, these are demons that are pacing around me. They are psychotic and they have freakouts literally around me. That's what I'm documenting, and they are engaged in criminal activity, but understand that this is evidence of what is going to have the entity that is mentally ill and stalking me. They're going to be committed, and it's for the protection of the public. And the entity that maliciously targets, like what you hear in the background, carry on a conversation like you call yourself setting me up, but you're setting yourself up because you're going to be homeless and you're going to prison. The entities engaging in what is stalking me with the people of the state. That's who you hear. Gang stalking me with a helicopter. You're just as guilty, and you are going to prison. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 5:23 p.m. Oh, okay. I just want you to see the entity that's just flying in circles, stalking me, just over and over and over again. Remember what everything that is stated. I can't stress this enough. It's already proven that the Ontario police are stalkers. You're going to listen to what A. Ornelas and C. Gerber were saying and how they were acting while they were stalking on video. Stalking the person that is capturing it on video, you're going to analyze their behavior. And that's where you're getting to identifying psychopathic disorders. And that is behavior that they engage in while they are actively engaging in the completed crime of the conspiracy to commit murder, gang stalking, with this entity that is stalking in this manner by helicopter, exposing that they are entirely guilty, and so is everyone else having any aspect, anything to do with what has been defaming me, keeping me against my will under any circumstances, claiming that I'm a criminal, claiming that I'm mentally ill, claiming that I'm imagining things, claiming that there's something wrong with me, claiming that I'm unfit in one way or another. There is no question about their engagement in this intentional act of terrorism, targeting me, and they've targeted the person that has them surrounded. This is mental illness. This is mental illness that is going to cause what is a change in the practice of medicine, where you will not be able to, by virtue of merely your position, be able to state that someone is, under your opinion and based on your training, that is enough to establish, absent any facts and information, that they are mentally ill, and under the law that they should not be in control of their property or their money or anything like that. This is what the entity did. And you're looking at mental illness. The stalker in the helicopters. The stalkers under the fake sun. The stalkers that are engaging, they're all in their apartments studying their devices, pacing around. I kid you not, they're pacing. This is the fake sun over the apartment building. Remember, UPS was stalking at the gate when I arrived during the 2 p.m. hour yesterday. Remember, the entity is stalking by commercial planes on this street. Delta Airlines was stalking in commercial plane when I was on the street. Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, as the entity, Alan D. WAPNER, they will admit. The entity will produce what is the flights of the appropriate takeoff, where no takeoff is occurring, where they're hovering over. That's a judicially noticed fact, that the sun will not be here in the morning and still here in the evening. That this is not the practice of law. This is not any investigations, blatant stalking, which I documented. Woodside Senior Apartments engaging in 24 hours a day. They were doing this at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning. All right, amplifying helicopter activity inside of Tracy Banks' apartment in concert with the gang stalking neighbors. Okay, and those neighbors are going to prison. And the entities engaging in this while they have been utilizing what is gang stalking. This is the corrupt government's practice to gang stalk you and then claim that you're hallucinating, you're lying about it, and that you're mentally ill. And demons, terrorists like David Siegler, capitalize off of that, use their position, and then opine on your mental state when they are manufacturing the information. And this is what the entity is doing while the an ordinary target individual is very foreseeably and reasonably engaging in what is some sort of reaction to being tortured and stalked. It's not mentally ill behavior. It's the reaction to being tortured, a human being, a fragile human being. And so there needs to be a clear distinction between what is someone that is responding to being tortured by a government that experiments on human beings. And those who are experimenting are the mentally ill. They're demons that concoct these machinations with regard to targeting people and framing them to appear one way. And this is the act of the government. This is an entity that under no circumstances has any legitimacy with regard to the practice of law, the practice of medicine, and law enforcement. No authority under the law. Okay. Now, this is exceptional because I have actually proven that the government is entirely 100% a criminal in this circumstance. This is that which I have proven with tangible evidence. This is not something that I am just proclaiming of my own volition and just out of my own opinion. And that's also the reason why the government and those government actors that I document are going to prison. Okay, this is the P.O.C. That's psychotic what the entity is doing. And then they have those in the medical field defaming American citizens, claiming that they're mentally ill and imagining that they're being gang stalked. And there is no imagination pertaining to what you are looking at. To the contrary, the ones that are stalking, the ones that are under the fake sun, that is recognizing what is a closeted mental illness that a population shares, the demon possessed, that are no longer able to masquerade as human beings. That's a demon that's stalking in a helicopter that's flying in circles. That are hovering, that are interested in following me around in commercial planes. That's not a normal obsession. Understand that. The entity's interest in me and their obsession with me is not normal. It's not human. These are demons, creatures, lower beings who thought that they could depict me as one way, and it's because it's the government that was convinced if they say it's X, Y, and Z, then it's X, Y, and Z, and no one's going to question that. And what's actually happening is that I'm proving it is not X, Y, and Z. And in fact, X, Y, and Z applies to the government being mentally ill and being a criminal. And I'm going to prosecute to the furthest extent of the law for that. That's what a government does in order to get away with murdering you. And it's doing it with the people of the state. P.O.C. That's the entity that's gang stalking Avaneth employees and the family. They're going to prison. They know exactly who I am. They're under the fake sun that you see them under in the morning. She's still gang stalking with her kids, and they're going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:31 p.m. Oh. Erica, what are you doing here? You're not even supposed to be on property.
She's my caregiver. She's bringing me food. And
Don't tell her nothing. I'm not here seeing you. Am I bothering you?
I just got an email today that you're posting pictures of his apartment
Who did you get an email from?
from the corporate office today.
Oh, you got an email from the corporate. They know that I'm here,
You're
right?
posting on TikTok.
Oh, I'm posting on TikTok.
That's what they said.
What else am I posting on TikTok?
prove it.
Pictures of 84.
I don't live in 84.
And what else? What is that? Is that a crime?
I have nothing to
It's
do
not.
with it.
What? Why are you coming over here then?
I just saw you.
Oh, you just saw me. Okay. Remember the helicopter activity? Is that it? She's crazy. That's why I don't talk to her. Okay, bye. That's the P.O.C. This is harassment by the entity that's gang stalking. That includes Tracy Banks. Look at the engineer light. She's talking to the gang stalkers who are management. She's talking about
She's over there
TikTok.
talking to him too.
She's talking to TikTok. She's talking about TikTok rather. She's talking about Unit 84. Remember, this is all the entity that's hostile, harassing, stalking by helicopter,
Management with a phone
and the
already.
person that is here is also monitoring with them. Okay, so this is under the guise that the entity is engaged in what is targeting me, and she's just running into me. This is the P.O.C. That's Tracy Banks. She's going to prison. She's getting committed. All right, that's P.O.C. The entity is engaging in that. She's referring to TikTok that I don't post on. She's referring to an apartment number that I'm not associated with. And she's also engaged in what is targeting me with the demons that are harassing because I just documented and am engaging in what is capturing the entity stalking again by helicopter. Okay? She did not just walk in and coincidentally find me. She's stalking with the entity that engages in what is harassment. This is that entire entity targeting. That's Tracy Banks, P.O.C. It is currently 6:35 p.m. All right, the excerpt of evidence that you just listened to right now is immediately following Tracy Banks, who was stalking me by helicopter. Okay, that's how these facts work together. And then Tracy Banks, that is stalking me by helicopter, is then approaching me physically in the laundry room in the specific environment and is lying about the circumstances surrounding her coming to target me and by harassing me. in the laundry room. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct. This is the same entity that engaged in kidnapping and is also very fearful. Tracy Banks is fearful of the evidence that I've captured to have her committed, and then she's engaged in what is walking into the laundry room after I capture that damning evidence which is speaking to all the lies that she's been telling for years. The evidence of the P.O.C. that is juxtaposed with all of the lies that Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer and basically all the rest of my gang stalking relatives have been necessarily speaking about me in order to interfere with my constitutional right to receive property and assets, money that belongs to me. So in order to defame my character, this entity surmised that its typical criminal activity that it is engaging in against American citizens who are targeted individuals would be successful against me. That is, the government's formula is to gang stalk you. When you are being gang stalked, your family is gang stalking you. So if you're married, if you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever is your situation, you are a targeted individual, okay? You're not a targeted couple. You are a targeted individual. You may have children. Now, understand, if you have adult children, you are a targeted individual. If you have babies, that's different, okay? Because they are not in any circumstance where they are targeting you, actively acting against your best interest, lying on your character. Those are innocent children that are not able to conspire against you. No one's lying to them and telling them to say X, Y, Z, especially if they're young children and they can't participate in that regard. But this is understanding how a government is targeting you. A government is targeting you when there is not one person that is ignorant that you are being targeted and that is not engaged in targeting you. This is the entity that literally just engaged in stalking me at Woodside Senior Apartments. I'm capturing it on video yesterday. I'm capturing it on video in the morning while I'm at 1510 North Euclid Avenue the day prior. Flew in circles over my head in 3 separate videos. And then at Woodside Senior Apartments, the entity is stalking me, meaning you are following me around, you are keeping me under surveillance, you are harassing me while I maintain that which any person, including the federal prosecutor, that is who I am. I am the federal prosecutor who is a targeted individual in order to prove that the United States government is engaging in a system of conspiring against American citizens that it decides to steal from, by defaming them. That is necessarily, the government has to depict you as a criminal. The government has to depict you as being mentally unstable in order to utilize what is a fictitious exercise of authority under the law. And it's fictitious because the government's engaged in criminal monitoring, targeting you. So this is not legitimate authority. So the government is abusing its position, thus fictitious authority under the laws in order to keep you against your will, which is kidnapping, because of the government engagement in monitoring and targeting. It is not what is any authorized detention. It is kidnapping. The entities engaging in this under the guise of having authority, under the guise of you actually being a criminal, under the guise of you actually being mentally ill. And the government is doing that based on its position and utilizes state actors like Tracy Banks, like the third party who's in the laundry room, who you even hear jumping in, and I have to tell him to be quiet because Tracy Banks is nobody to even respond to. She's mentally unstable. She's going to be committed. She has been admitting her mental illness while she's been defaming my character for decades. And so everyone that she has lied to about my character, she has been speaking the truth about the existence of mental illness. It's just that it's her mental illness, not mine. She has been engaged in stealing my identity, stealing my money, my property. And these are facts that she omitted while she was lying about things that have happened pertaining to me, lying about things that I've done, lying about who I am, and lying about literally my accomplishments. I guess you're just going to make the fact that I graduated from college, make the fact that I graduated from law school, make the fact that I passed the California bar, and as a practicing attorney, you just make all those facts disappear, and the government is engaging in that. The government is engaging in just wiping the slate clean. And remember, the government that is stalking me in helicopters, like what you see, that's a government that engages in what is making up information as it sees fit, as it is needful, and the government that wipes clean, removes any sort of information that does not conform to a narrative that government is creating, and it creates a narrative through the people of the state. This is who is stalking me in the laundry room, doing so moments after I captured spectacular evidence again of stalking me by helicopter. This is going back to the mentally unstable third party Tracy Banks and the mentally unstable entity, Woodside Senior Apartments, even the entity that you hear standing next to me, who is targeting me while I am in his presence at this apartment complex in the city of Ontario. So it's the apartment that I'm in, it's the apartment complex that I'm in, it's the neighborhood that I'm in, it's the city that I'm in, it's the state that I'm in that is targeting me. Tracy Banks is coming to what is the laundromat. The laundromat where I'm being gang stalked, and I am documenting what is the position that this third party has. This is not a friend, nor is anyone a friend. When I'm inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, what is she doing? She's gang stalking me. When I'm in the presence of any third party, these are not my friends. I'm telling you, I'm teaching you, I'm showing you, I'm demonstrating, I'm documenting how you are a targeted individual. The only one that is on your side is Christ Jesus. And if you know him as your Lord and Savior, that is who you seek. That's whose face you seek out. That's who you get your wisdom from. This is how you are what is conquering what is, first of all, spiritual warfare. Because the entity is just trying to attack your mind by gang stalking you. And it's attacking your mind is spiritually attacking you. Okay, so they are engaging in crazy behavior and trying to make you appear as though you are crazy in the instance that you report it to anyone and anybody that you report it to, such as gang stalkers of any corrupt facility like, Arrowhead Regional Medical Center that's engaged in criminal surveillance and targeting via the medical field, like David Siegler, who's engaged in domestic terrorism, not the practice of medicine, not any sort of legitimate director of behavioral health. This is the entity that is targeting, and they're engaging in this in conformity to the pattern of conduct. This is how this entity is engaging in what I have shown to be a very foolish and unambiguous it's self-detrimental. It's detrimental to the entity to engage in gang stalking because it exposes their mentally ill state. Okay, this is the surrounding context, and these are the surrounding facts, which you're not forgetful of. While Tracy Banks literally is admitting to gang stalking, remember the fact that she lives at Woodside Senior Apartments is merely criminal presence in the path. Okay, surveillance is underway throughout the entirety of the city, and that's why throughout the entirety of the state. That's why she is coming to the laundry room where the entity is maintaining a light source over the Upland Public Library at the same location where the entity literally just engaged in providing what is prefacing everything that she's stating, that she is engaged in criminally monitoring me in furtherance of murder. And she also happens to be the one that has stolen my money and property and has done so for years. She's also stolen my identity. She's also enabled others to do so. She's engaged in monitoring my vagina. She is a predator who's sexually obsessed with me. And this is proven through her pattern of conduct that is shared with the U.S. government, engaging what is sexually violating me, being a perpetual sex offender who's engaged in gang stalking me maliciously as a family member who has lied about her identity to me, her relation to me. This is the person that walks to the laundry room. This is the person that says she just walked in and saw me. Okay, that is a lie, and that is very disturbing. That is to be analyzed with regard to the mind state behind the person that is conspiring the murder of a relative who has lied about being my mother and is lying and stating that she's just walking, happens to run into me while the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct. She is the people of the state while the entity is admittedly stalking me in concert with the entity that is stalking by commercial airline planes. She is stalking me with the Ontario International Airport and stating that she just ran into me. She is stalking me with the U.S. government, the military, that are stalking me everywhere, including where she lives. And she is being highly malicious when she states that she just ran into me. She just ran into me on the day that she is also admitting to what is also that which is confirmed by the government that's maintaining an ongoing investigation about the many, many lies pertaining to this closeted psychopath and violent sex offender, Tracy Banks, who states that the corporate office sent her an email. This is very, very interesting that I will be the subject of any email, that the corporate office is this interested in myself having never committed any criminal act, and the entity having no evidence of any criminal activity, and the entity that would be engaged in what is conspiring with the gang stalkers like Gerber and Ornelas. The Ontario Police Department, who are stalking by helicopter. That's who they are engaging in gang stalking me with. And corporate Avanath Capital Management, Woodside Senior Apartments, management personnel, the employees are all sharing in this pattern of conduct, and Tracy Banks is admittedly speaking to that which is even relevant to prove that it is actually the case, even though it doesn't have to be the case. She's gang stalking. She knows exactly where I'm at. She's a stalker, and you're paying attention to her hostility, and you're remembering what she's stating when she's stalking me at Stater Brothers. Okay, the entity that's engaging in surveillance, where she just happens to walk upon me inside of the grocery store that's engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct. Stater Brothers at 646 West Hope Boulevard, that is keeping a fake son under me, where that same Ontario Police Department is committing a kidnapping pursuant to criminal summoning in concert with the people of the state, who engage in what is manufacturing, making up information in order to engage in a kidnapping as an entity that is indeed gang stalking, monitoring with that entity that is on video yet again, having a psychiatric breakdown, a psychotic breakdown, stalking me in helicopters and in commercial plane. Okay, this is an entity that is walking into the laundry room. Her name is Tracy Banks, Tracy Lemire Banks, goes by also Tracy Jenkins, goes by Tracy Petty. The entity of relatives of mine are sharing in what has been defaming my character as an ongoing campaign, because this gang stalking family of mine has been stealing my money, stealing my property on the basis of, oh, I'm a patient, and oh, I'm in their care, and oh, I'm incapable of taking care of myself, and I'm more educated, more capable, and the only competent, sane person in this bloodline. Okay, this is an entity that's engaged in that. So you're listening to the lies of a psychopath who is gang stalking and furtherance of murder. And it is the entity that's doing so after the co-defendant of hers is stalking me just ridiculously in helicopter and in commercial plane. Is doing so under the phenomenon of the fake son that's literally over the laundry room while she stands there and states that lie. And she is very much in denial and delusional about the fact that all of this evidence that surrounds her, that has her in a chokehold, she is the only one that acts like it does not exist, and that everyone else is going to act like it doesn't exist as well. This is why she is in need of being committed. This is an entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, the entity that, including Tracy Banks, that has planned my murder. She has planned for me to die. She has lied about the fact that I have never died, and she has engaged in what is, as an entity, collecting insurance benefits on me. This is speaking to the malicious actor that you hear talking to me at the laundry room and conspicuously stalking me in doing so. Anything that she says to me, first of all, it's all lies, and it's all based on you're stalking me. So you're coming around lying about why you're in my face, how you know that I'm there for you to come and lie in my face. You're there stalking. The entity preceded you by helicopter and commercial plane, and you're talking about things that have nothing to do with any violation of the law that the Ontario police don't have any authority to deal with in the first place. They're gang stalkers. Nonetheless, this is everything that you're mindful of. This third party is stating she just ran into me. And you have the third party in the background, the one that is very much engaged in setting me up. I walk out of his apartment and the entity is, again, stalking me, chasing me down by helicopter. All right. He's engaging in that pattern of conduct, and then is also understand the malice of an entity that is engaged in targeting you. They don't have to physically know each other. And you're looking at what is the illusion of being on two different sides of a fence. Okay. And I'm explaining what is all audible activity pursuant to the pattern of conduct, regardless of what this third party who is remaining in the apartment where I'm being targeted, just like I'm in Tracy Banks' apartment, I'm being targeted. Even when I was in my apartment home at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, I'm being targeted. When I'm remaining inside of any hotel room, no matter where I go, including outside of California and Las Vegas, Nevada, proven I'm being targeted. While I'm on the freeways driving to and fro, I am being targeted. When I'm on the sidewalk walking to and fro, I am being targeted. When I'm in the bathroom, I'm being targeted. When I'm in the grocery store, I'm being targeted. When I'm in the library, I'm being targeted. When I'm in the laundry room at Woodside Senior Apartments, I am being targeted. And it is inclusive of Tracy Banks, who has been a mastermind, not because she's intelligent. It's because she's a demon, and they're engaging in what is demonic activity. And they mistake being demons who are malicious and psychopathic as being intelligent, as being exceptional. And it's not. I've shown you that. All you have to do is, all I've done is remove the illusion for you. I've shown you none of them are intelligent. None of them are capable. They're not even sane. They're absolutely foolish. They are engaged in barbaric behaviors. They engage in that which you cannot fathom in your mind. And because that's not even within your imagination, that's how you're able to miss what they're doing. And they're doing it right in front of your face. That is not any sort of act of an elite entity or elite person. That's not elite conduct in the first place. It's not the product of anything that is remotely intelligent at all. It is not born of anything that is related to being competent. And that's why this entity cannot contend with the facts in this public investigation. This is why Tracy Banks, who is skillful at what is sexual activity, but is not under any circumstances capable of contending with facts, proving that she is and has engaged in what is plotting my murder upon already lying about the fact that I'm dead somewhere, why she and others should be able to collect insurance benefits on my name while she walks to a laundry room. All these facts are what you're mindful of. When she walks to the laundry room and states that she just coincidentally ran into me on the same day that she is admittedly speaking to that which is also inexplicable. Why would the corporate office, whether it's Avaneth Capital Management or by their own admission, I took a picture of the document in the laundry room, you have what is the third-party company, I believe Brightview, that is stating that it is now the property management company, which would be a new company. Okay, new since I was kidnapped here by the same defendants who are here gang stalking in 2025. So what corporate company has Erica Spencer, who is not a criminal, who didn't rob anybody, and who is subject to the pattern of conduct? That's why I would be on your radar. It's an admission. This is an entity that's unintelligent. But this is an entity that cannot explain. And how are you going to explain how you are here and what brought your attention? And so you make up things that are also illogical. That makes no sense. And that also is speaking to targeting. If that were true, if corporate sent you an email about me, that is corporate that's engaged in targeting me, because the corporate office has no legitimate interest in me. I am not routinely breaking into homes here. I'm not any sort of criminal, in other words, where you keep an eye out on Erica Spencer. She's a criminal. She's committed series of robberies. We're looking out for her. If you see her, you call the police as soon as possible. This is an entity that would like the federal investigator to be that person. All right. That's called obstruction of justice. And the entity has engaged in criminal activity while engaging in that. Tracy Banks comes into the laundry room as you see her doing so in the specific environment. While she is quite perturbed that I will not talk to her as you review the evidence of her stalking me at Stater Brothers at 646 West Holt Boulevard, I will not converse with her, associate with her, because she is severely mentally unstable. And she has been engaged in what is threatening my life since I was a child, and becoming aware of it, making sure that she is far removed from being anywhere or capable of mistaking the fact that she has no right under the law to be in my presence. And that is including at Woodside Senior Apartments, where she is gang stalking. None of them, I want to be clear. Remember, it's not private property. It's a facilitating venue. The facilitating venue is the crime scene where the government's engaging in criminal surveillance. When you are legally analyzing this, none of the people of the state have any legal right whatsoever to be at the facilitating venue. That facilitating venue they have used to masquerade as private property, where they quote unquote have a right because they work there, because they live there, because they're visiting there, because they maintain property, they bought the real estate, etc., etc. Those are all illusions pertaining to surveillance by the U.S. government that has no legitimate interest, no warrant, no probable cause, no constitutionally based authority to engage in the pattern of conduct, gang stalking and furtherance of murder. Federal group stalking and monitoring. Federal stalking under Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. It does not exist under the Constitution. Where the entity is referring to what is the facilitating venue where you are engaging in the government's surveillance system, and you are referring to that as your place of employment. You're referring to that crime scene as your place of residence. You do not have any authority under the law. You are at a crime scene. You are a defendant. You are engaged in criminal activity. That's all the people of the state show. That's all the purpose of the people of the state, and it is criminalizing what is public corruption. Public corruption is already crime. It is the criminalization of what is a malicious system that is existing in plain sight. And the entity is maintaining what is an illusion of having a right, and I'm going to pop that bubble. It's already been popped. The entity is going to learn the hard way. You're going to prison, and no matter how much you resist the reality, the party is over. You are being prosecuted, and moreover, you're absolutely being prosecuted, even outside of what is an elaborate and organized means of breaking down this system of public corruption, where you're getting out of what is this constitutional framework regarding public and private property. Pertaining to public and private property are all relevant to what is a facilitating venue, and it is legally irrelevant within the pattern of conduct. It's either direct engagement in the pattern of conduct at a facilitating venue, i.e. the fake sun, engineer light, the government's engagement directly, which is helicopter activity. That's the state acting directly. You're all criminals, gang stalking. You're already prosecuted. It's going to be a streamlined prosecution. I'm going to be the Oprah Winfrey of federal prosecutions. Federal prosecution for you, federal case for you, federal charges for you. It's just like that. And this is literally the entire case has already been laid out when you're listening to Tracy Banks lying about the circumstances that she's in my face. She is desperate. She's a stalker. And she's also hostile because I do not communicate with her. And it is clear, as you can see, why. She is the reason why the government is stalking me by helicopter. One of the reasons why, because the government maintains these people in these positions, these demons, they maintain what is a responsibility. So even if a Jezebel that's over 60 years old and these wrinkly, decrepit thighs that she spreads open for them, even if she's promising to pay demons, incompetent psychopaths, and nymphomaniacs like Jason Fields, there is no basis whereby they are given any sort of pass under the law. They're going to be prosecuted based on the unethical conduct that they've engaged in targeting as opposed to protecting an American citizen, and having sex with somebody, having spell work on you, whatever the entity would like to contend is the reason why they did it. They did it because of a long existing federal gangs group stalking system that's underway, surveillance that's underway. That's why they did it, period. Tracy Banks being a whore, Tracy Banks being a liar, Tracy Banks engaging what is literally gossip. And the government's position would literally be like, oh, well, it's because I listen to gossip. I'm sorry, you're going to prison. You're going to prison. So that is no exception for anybody in the military, for anybody in law enforcement, so for any American citizen. It's not. But the government, they take oaths. Okay? They have responsibilities, including ethical responsibilities. That goes for those that practice medicine and those that practice law as well. You don't have any sort of, the people of the state don't, but you're talking about at a professional level. I will prosecute you based on your position. You do not have any sort of relevant past whatsoever, no matter how much of a pathological liar, and she is, that Tracy Banks is. It's not a defense for any of this entity at all. Okay? The entity is full of demons. So these are the demon possessed that are engaging in a system, and they routinely engage in serial killings. The entity tried to target me, and they thought I was going to be another sacrifice. And I am the one that is serving to make sure that they accomplish a sacrifice of themselves. And that's exactly what's happening. They've sacrificed themselves. Okay? Tracy Banks is speaking to the fact that, number one, she's just running into me into the laundromat. That's a lie. Number two, she is stating that she's running into me at the laundromat moments after the entity is providing evidence that that's a lie, stalking by helicopter, and that it's the same day she's running into me on the same day that she gets an email from corporate about me, and the email that she is getting about me has nothing to do with any sort of interest, legitimate interest that the corporate office would have. Nothing that she is stating is a crime. Nothing that she is stating that a corporate office would go out of its way to email her about is anything that an actual corporate office that's engaged in legitimate business practices, that's not engaged in what is targeting, that is not engaged in obstruction and harassing me, because they know that they're being documented and that they are going to be defunded, prosecuted, and subject to civil damages. That's why you would speak to that which is under no circumstances any crime or anybody's business. Essentially, you're talking about what is private speech. You're talking about what is a matter of privacy, what I'm doing on my phone. You're talking about what is a matter of freedom of speech. I'm not in anybody's apartment home without their consent. I haven't broken into anybody's apartment home. And the bottom line is that I'm not in Tracy Banks' apartment home, and I'm not communicating with her. This is an entity that's engaging in that. And this is the entity that engaged in kidnapping. All I'm doing is pointing out what you're analyzing. Remember, the entity is kidnapping on May 29, 2025. The same entity that is kidnapping from what is Woodside Senior Apartments is the same entity that is gang stalking me, as I'm showing you on video yesterday. This is the same neighborhood. The fake sun is present until the evening. It's after 5 p.m. The entity, Ontario police, were stalking me under the fake sun that is still here over me at Woodside Senior Apartments. It's around the corner from where the Ontario police are stalking me in the parking lot at Arco at 434 North Euclid Avenue. That was in the morning. Okay, this is 11 at around 11:12 in the morning on video. The Ontario Police are at 434 North Euclid Avenue at Arco, gang stalking me, proven under what is scientific evidence of where the ecological address of the sun would be at 11:12 in the morning, as I'm documenting it over me, hovering in the presence of the Ontario Police Department and the Ontario International Airport, who are engaging in a pattern of conduct. You see the entity that is in that video yesterday morning flying over that parking lot by commercial plane, and you see the commercial plane that's flying over Woodside Senior Apartments, while a sun, and which there's only one, right? And that sun is still over me during the 5 p.m. hour. So let's count 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 6 hours later, the next day, which is an impossible occurrence. That phenomenon is where you will see the airport engage in an ongoing, again, a drastic deviation. Now they're flying over from the same airport. The airport didn't move. The terminals did not move. It's at the same address, the same location in the city. That is the same ecological address. And you have the entity that is from the terminals, presumably, engaging what is flight over Arco under the fake sun. And then you have 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours later under the fake sun that is still over me, and an entirely different location, the ecological address, speaking to what is a grand deviation regarding the traffic from the supposedly the airport. Where else are these planes coming from? Where are they going at that low elevation in the city of Ontario where you are maintaining an airport? And that's supposed to be the guise where somebody's paranoid and you're just imagining that an airport or that planes are targeting you. And this is just a flight from the airport or headed to the airport. And I've shown through the analysis that could not even be close to that. It is clear targeting, and it's also unintelligent. Okay, very obvious. And so is the environment where that obvious stalking and targeting is underway. These are the circumstances surrounding what Tracy Banks is stating, and what is also relevant regarding your admitting. And remember, what an unintelligent co-defendant says, everybody's pinned down by that. This is why you don't gang stalk with the mentally ill. This is why you don't. When you're a co-defendant, the person that is engaging in sharing criminal activity that you're going down for, and when you think you're smarter than them and you have an alibi, but you didn't have a conference with them, and so they're sitting up talking for everybody, you're pinned to that. You're pinned to that, okay? The entities engaged in what is admitting that corporate that has no legitimate interest in me shouldn't even know my name. I don't have a relationship with corporate. This is an entity that would be admittedly keeping a camera on me. Are you watching me 24 hours a day? This is an exceptional amount of attention that is inexplicable after I am under no circumstances associated with Woodside Senior Apartments. I want to be clear. The entity kidnapped me on May 29, 2025, and I have not been associated with the, I haven't been to the property, in other words. You're talking about as of late, since I've been documenting that, and it's a matter of evidence. And it's also under no circumstances any basis for a property management company to avoid prosecution for criminal activity. It's not limited to any contract with the venue. It's not limited to any basis of tenancy, none of that. I'm prosecuting for criminal activity, period. But I'm also gonna go into the details. You have the absence of any reason as to why a corporation, the corporate office, which is in Irvine, I believe. But if it's this new Brightview company, they're brand new. What would be putting me on their radar? I have seen no one. I'm not under any circumstances. Remember, the entity is targeting, so this is the reality. They're all monitoring my vagina. The entity is very unintelligent. It's hard for them, in other words, to target me and then act like you're not focused on me. So it's hard for you to accuse me of something without admitting that you're targeting me in one way or another. So why would they be sending you an email about me when nothing has happened but for your surveilling? You know that they're surveilling. They're stalking me outside of the window of the apartment by helicopter. But Tracy Banks, okay? This is a high school graduate who has a PhD in fellatio, okay, who is a liar and is a fraud, okay. She's a criminal, and she is a failure in trying to have me murdered and getting away with it with the government that is stalking in these absurd ways, which I have all over the internet by helicopter. This is an entity that's engaging in this is what Tracy Banks says, that the corporate office emailed her about that which is a matter of my free speech. If this is actually the case, that they sent her an email, a matter of my free speech, why are they emailing Tracy Banks like she's security or like she's the police or that she has authority over me? Okay, and this is speaking to what is real time. So it's the corporate office that told you that I'm in the laundromat right now. This is the entity that's engaging in this sort of conduct. I just want to be clear on that. This is an entity that's doing so, while the entity that's engaging in that, I just want to be clear, is the corporate office the reason why the helicopter started flying over me? Because I'm on the property? Because this is how those facts, this is how this information, those are not established as facts. It's a fact that Tracy Banks said it, and I'm speaking to the reasonable implications from that information. You said the corporate office emailed you. Is that how you knew that I was in the laundry room right now? Tracy Banks is entering into the laundry room and stating that the corporate office sent her an email, which should be something that would be verified, because it's relevant to me prosecuting the corporate office for harassment upon federal group stalking, monitoring, conspiring by murder. Second of all, the entity is engaged in what is a criminal pattern of conduct. I want to be clear, when you're targeting, you are still targeting while you are, in other words, you're not able to use targeting in order to violate someone's rights. So, for example, let's say that I'm living at the apartment complex with this third party, and I'm not on the lease, the contract. I'll give you an example of that. Let's say I'm violating like that. You can, because it's not a defense. It's not relevant to me prosecuting. First of all, they're being prosecuted under all circumstances. But the government has to state, when you are admittedly engaging in what is targeting me, which you already know, you're engaging in surveillance. That's the information that you have illegally procured, and that's how you know that I'm in the apartment. Do you understand? The entity is under all circumstances always admitting that you're targeting me. Okay, that would be the case if that were the case. This isn't the case, but if it were the case that I was staying in someone's apartment, and for example, I'm not on the lease. Normal circumstances, you're not under surveillance, so you don't have everybody that is stalking you, gang stalk you, including the person whose apartment you're inside of, and the entity engaging what is harassing you. Oh, I got a call from the manager about you being, in the apartment. Well, how does the manager know I'm in the apartment? How would the manager know that? Is the manager keeping a camera in here? Are you telling the manager? And how would you know? Because I don't even talk to you. You that would be outside of the apartment that I'm inside of. So this is the position that Tracy Banks has. The reality is that the entity is engaged in surveillance. The reality is that this entity is monitoring down to my vagina, okay? This is why C. Gerber is stating Erica Lorraine Spencer, my entire government name. He can also tell you about my vagina. He can tell you about whether I use pads or tampons. He can tell you what brand I purchase at the store, whether I get it shipped by Amazon or whether I go to the store and buy it. He can tell you how many I bought, 36, 24, what size he can tell you all about that. He's engaged in gang stalking. He's a vagina monitor. That's why he knows Erica Lorraine Spencer. I'm no criminal. We're not best friends. We are not having daily encounters with each other, and our encounters are not so extraordinary that you would know my entire name. When I'm documenting this gang stalker, I'm not telling him, hey Gerber, I'm Erica Lorraine Spencer, don't forget me. I'm not telling him, hey Gerber, look at my social media on YouTube and on X. Make sure you take a look at that. I'm not engaging in anything that would draw their attention to me, especially while I'm at the laundry room and the entity is engaged in psychopathic pacing by helicopter and flying right over the top of my head and sitting there floating above me by helicopter. And I'm also not doing anything that would cause the universe to keep a sun over me as opposed to everyone else. All I'm stating is that these are the circumstances where you're always admitting that you're targeting when you have this inexplicable information about that which you would not otherwise know, but for engaging what is paying me extra attention, which is criminal. It's the government. It's surveillance. Tracy Banks is stating that the corporate office is sending her an email about that which is a matter of free speech and that which is pertaining to violating my privacy. She's also, as though she's as though she's going to interfere with somebody else's right to invite me over their apartment. Okay, this is somebody that is really psychotic. If you take a step back and listen to what Tracy Banks is stating, as though I'm a child, as though she has authority over me, as though she has any basis whatsoever to even come and say anything to me, and she's doing so under some assertion that she can, with the authority of the police, tell me to get off the property. I'm not here to see her. Haven't been speaking to her. I made that very clear. Every encounter with her, I document for my protection because she is absolutely deranged, has been trying to kill me, and has joined in on a campaign to defame me before trying to kill me in order to get away with that murder. And she's been lying about my character. So this is exactly why she's being documented. All right. This is the entity of serial killers. All right. And this is an entity that's engaged in child rape. This is the character of Tracy Banks. And this is an entity that's engaged in what is including corporate. And to be honest with you, she should have left them out because you're all being documented. You're all being prosecuted for it. And literally, you are speaking as the entity anyway. This is the people of the state are the government. They're vicarious actors. They're in the facilitating event. This is not private property. None of it's private speech. Everything that the entity says. That's why when you're gang stalking and you call yourself cussing me out, you're going to prison and the government's being prosecuted for that. The property where you're at, the corporate entity, all it is a matter of deep pockets that I'm going to drain. That's just punishing the entity, all of that. But the government is speaking. The government is stalking. The entity, Tracy Banks, is stating that the corporate office emailed her and did so while, again, I'm not hanging out outside of the apartment, because you see me walking through, and I want to be clear, they're assuming my identity. You're assuming that you know who I am. This, under all circumstances, you're paying so much attention to me for you to be like, oh, we saw you on camera. How do you know that that's me? I don't have on the same clothes I had on a year and a half ago. I'm not wearing the same thing. I don't even have the same equipment. This is an entity, and this is an entity that's also engaged in that. While again, I'm not hanging out outside, and I'm not different from other people that are in this apartment. Okay, it's an issue with me, and corporate is sending an email about me, per Tracy Banks, who was the people of the state. The corporate office, that's the people of the state. I'm documenting this because I'm prosecuting. The entity, everything that Tracy Banks is stating is relevant to what it's legally irrelevant. All of it is. I'm documenting because the entity is harassing me. This is an entity that makes stupid decisions. You just gave me, again, more evidence of you stalking, more evidence of your mental illness. They are psychopathic, and they are triggered by what it is that I'm publishing on the internet. I finished May 30th, 2026 today. The entity is very hostile to me. They're very angry. These are psychopaths who wanted to accomplish a sacrifice. They're mad because I'm successful in my prosecution and my documentation. They're mad because I'm not walking around like depressed and contemplating suicide. And who would be mad by that other than the mentally ill psychopathic serial killers that are the sex offenders gang stalking you? All right. But this is literally the entity that's bothered by my existence while you are stalking me, not relieving yourself of being bothered by me, but stalking me. This is an entity that's engaged in that. So you're stalking by helicopter, and every time you do that, this is an entity that is regretting it. You fly off in failure again, and I have the 7,500th video proving that David Siegler is acting in conformity to a pattern of conduct and is engaged in kidnapping with the entity, pursuant to criminal defamation that Tracy Banks and the Ontario Police and the Woodside literally the corporate office that she's stating kidnapped her, because that's the people of the state. So the residents, I'm speaking to the overall property. Okay, that's what I mean by the corporate office. Corporate office is the people of the state. This entity is the one that engaged in kidnapping. But the point being is that she is speaking to the corporate office pertaining to that which is of no consequence, that which is under normal circumstances. What I'm taking, what she let's quote, you're taking pictures of the inside. This is the admission that the entity is monitoring on my device. This is what you're paying attention to. You're taking pictures of the inside of his apartment and putting it on TikTok. So everybody that is following knows that I am not posting anything on TikTok. Tracy Banks knows that I'm not posting anything on TikTok. Okay? She knows that. She also knows that I am documenting her while she's intentionally speaking to lies. She's also not the brightest, okay? She's not the brightest at all. And this is why she needed to accomplish this sacrifice against me, because she could not contend with my abilities to basically prosecute her, which is she's going to be woefully unprepared in the event that, and she was never going to be successful. She needed me to die in order for her, who is very much inept with regard to trying to contend with me, especially pertaining to any factual information. Where do you come up with this other than a bunch of gang members jumping on what is nothing other than gossip, vacuous information? It is nothing other than hot air. And when you penetrate that information, when you delve into the substance, there is none. She literally needed me to be silenced by death in order to get away with this. And so did the government. And this is, again, the entity that is stalking me by helicopter and is doing so because of what is their they're being bothered by my existence, but this is an entity that is, again, humiliated by that by that video evidence that I captured. They're stalking again, and you hear my analysis. This is an entity that's not getting anything of what it intends to get when they are engaging in these egregious acts of terrorism, of psychological torture. All right, the entity intends for you to have a breakdown on camera, and then but I want to be clear. This is what I'm stating. This is how dumb they are. When I am advocating on behalf of any American citizen, and I am viewing the evidence of them documenting the U.S. military stalking them by helicopter, and let's say they are crying, they are sobbing while they're capturing that video. They're sobbing and they're talking about how bothered they've been and how they can't sleep and how they're not sure about why this is happening. Let's say they're having what we refer to as a breakdown while they are capturing hard evidence of the U.S. military stalking them by helicopter. That is not evidence of the targeted individual being mentally ill. That is not going to get you anything successful under the Baker Act with regard to trying to establish grave disability or any sort of mental instability under the Baker Act or anything regarding the Welfare and Institutions Code. That is not what you have. You have evidence of the government targeting you, engaging in what is levying war, for which the U.S. government, the people of the state, shall be prosecuted for treason and for what is the federal RICO case. It is under all circumstances, whether you're crying or whether you are laughing hysterically because you know you're going to the bank when you prosecute them in the courtroom. It doesn't matter what your reaction is. The government is the stalker. The government is the fool that is stalking on video. These idiots are doing it, and they are flying away depleted, humiliated, while they are listening to me ruthlessly and continuously analyze what is criminal activity under all circumstances, and it is also not giving them the reaction that they want. And my example that I just gave you is to speak to the fact that American citizens that very reasonably, the ordinary target individual, in other words, that may respond and are being psychologically harmed and are bothered, which you would foreseeably be, you are not weak, you are not crazy, and you're not going to be mistaken as such when you are documenting a pattern of conduct by the government who is mentally ill and psychotic to engage in this criminal conduct, this demonic experimentation, which is speaking to and demonstrating mental illness of them that are engaging in this pattern of conduct. This is an entity that has unsuccessfully projected its deranged mindsets on those who are innocent. And they're basing it on how you respond to that experimentation. And I contend that this is a very sorely mistaken failure in what is revealing anyone's mental illness. That is not the assessment of mental illness. It is the assessment of mental illness that is proven by those that engage in it. But there is no such mental illness of those that are subject to this pattern of conduct. The entity is engaging in this and they're humiliated by it. And then it follows with Tracy Banks, who's nothing other than a co-conspirator. Nothing other than the fool that, she has gone off and spoken. She's the first one that's going to be committed. She's the first one. She's on the top of the list. Right under that is Jason Fields, Eric Spencer. Jason Fields is a homosexual, a pedophile of a wife. Whatever it is that he married that is obsessed with me, that's been convening with Tracy Banks. Who all of them depended on my death in order to get away with this. They're all inferior. They're all incompetent. And a bunch of inept minions together does not equal a formidable adversary against one that is called a child of God. It doesn't matter how many of them are. And you've seen that every single last one of them, and I mean every single last one of them, are going to prison. So they need death to happen because they are incompetent. And the only one that's going to die are the ones that send out that death magic, because witchcraft is real. It's real. But it's very much and really inferior to one that is filled with the Holy Spirit. It's not touching me, clearly. You're looking at the effects of that death magic affecting those that are stalking me in helicopter, because that is the psychotic breakdown that I keep documenting on a day-to-day basis. And the entity is engaging what is speaking to the mental illness of Tracy Banks, who then is on my phone engaging in criminal activity. Even if she said, "Oh, Erica, I'm so happy to see you. I love you. I miss you. I'm so sorry. Can we make up? Let's have a relationship. I miss you." It's criminal activity. Okay? This is the P.O.C., but she's a fool. She's engaging in even more obvious criminal conduct, including other people in her nonsensical, audible activity, that which is speaking to, under all circumstances, unfounded and unreasonable attention to me, one who should not be even on your radar. For me to be walking on the property is not a violation of the law. For me to be a guest, not even in his apartment, we're outside on the apartment, on the grounds of the apartment. This is the entity that's making a series of assumptions while this unintelligent third party is speaking. And she's talking about the entity that's engaged in emailing her about that which is a matter of my own free speech, while you are necessarily, as a corporate office, concerned about what I publish. How do you know that I'm just giving you entertainment. How do you know that the pictures that I have inside of anybody's apartment aren't pictures that they wanted me to put up on my TikTok if I was maintaining a TikTok, and I'm not, and Tracy Banks knows that. Tracy Banks is feeling stupid. The more that she's talking, she knows that I'm recording her, and she's engaging what is stating what she, oh, believe me, she worships my YouTube channel. She's engaging what is throwing what is feckless witchcraft at it. It is demon proof. The evidence is not going anywhere, and she's going to prison. She's going to be committed behind my evidence that is necessarily posted on social media about this government that has no authority whatsoever. None whatsoever. I have proven the government to be a criminal, and this is the first time in history that this has happened. It is unprecedented. All right. And this is a government that's engaged in trying to kill me. That government has no authority whatsoever over that American citizen. But this is an entity. Tracy Banks is engaged in what is cyber stalking. She's engaged in federal stalking online. She's engaged in monitoring my device. She's literally monitoring my social media. She knows exactly what social media platforms I'm posting on, and she knows that I'm not posting on TikTok. Okay, but I don't have to sit here and prove what I know intuitively. Okay, I can prove with the evidence that she's engaged in what is monitoring, and actually my evidence that she is monitoring, the entity that's talking about helicopter under the fake sun, is engaged in federal stalking, which is also occurring online. I've already established this. So the lie that she's stating that I'm posted on TikTok, everybody can confirm there's nothing on TikTok that I've added as of late. I have not added it. TikTok is there for other purposes, which you will see at the conclusion of things. The entity that's stealing my identity, you're posting under my name, I want you to know you're an admitted co-conspirator. You are admittedly targeting me, because there's no way that you're gang stalking me. There's no way that you're not gang stalking me and stealing my content. What would even bring me to your attention and then for you to steal it? This is the entity that's conspiring my murder. That's the same government. The government that's talking about, oh, I got an email from the corporate office that you're posting pictures on TikTok about his apartment, this third party that I'm with, the inside of his apartment. First of all, that's not a crime. Second of all, you're making a lot of assumptions there. How do you know that he doesn't want me? Again, I'm entertained. This is the entity that they're the ones acting like they're not monitoring. So this is why I'm entertaining this argument. How do you know, one, that's not gang stalking me, one that's not engaged in monitoring and surveillance, that he didn't want me to post the pictures of inside of his apartment while we are looking for an apartment for an interior decor for whatever reason? None of it's criminal either. None of it is anything that a corporate office would be interested in. And why would a corporate office have any interest or knowledge even about my social media? Again, this is what Stater Brothers was referring to on July 13, 2026. Edgar was referring to my social media. Do you recall that? I documented that. Edgar fled the scene while he was aware that I wasn't holding my phone at that moment. And that demon that was seething, his face was all red, while he was monitoring me while I was inside of the bathroom, and while I'm subject to vagina monitoring inside of that bathroom where they would contend they're not engaging in surveillance. He is approaching me after I exit that bathroom, and I'm not recording while I'm holding a chicken pot pie in my hand and contemplating whether or not I want to buy it or not, whether or not it's adequately seasoned or not, whether or not it's going to poison me or not. He walks up to me very perturbed and very angry and talking about the fact that he's demanding that I leave the store, and that I'm saying horrible things about the employees on social media, and then he runs off before I could record it. But I capture him running upstairs and not coming back downstairs, and I'm asking, oh, Kia, what employee did I say horrible things about? What is it that you're referring to exactly? What social media platforms are you talking about? When did I add you as a friend? Are you following me on social media? I'm sorry, do you know my name? I don't have it under Erica Lorraine Spencer. Do you know my name? How do you know that I'm on social media? This is an entity that's always making admissions about targeting. Very unintelligent. And the truth about this comes out as I merely maintain an investigation. While they try to look to the left and the right like nothing is happening, nobody hears the helicopter activity. Nobody hears the ongoing impossible noise of what is the planes that are supposedly in Ontario, California at an Ontario International Airport, amplified in the Upland Public Library. How are you having plane activity? Why are you having plane activity? I'm trying to study, if I'm trying to actually study for my finals as a high school student, as a college student, as a nursing student. I'm trying to study. How come I can't get any peace and quiet inside of the library, where I'm being inundated with the amplified noise of planes and helicopters, and they turn their heads like nobody hears it? Okay, so you are my witnesses, because nobody's imagining anything, and nobody's imagining when they go to prison either. That's not going to be a product of our imagination either, because we're all going to watch that as well. We're going to witness that as well. The entities engaging in this conduct, and as much as they want to look to the left and right like nothing is happening, they are always making admissions. They cannot target me and act like they're not targeting me at the same time. In other words, the entity that wants to say something to me, that wants to harass me, is always doing so by admittedly speaking to, you're monitoring me. That's why you're bothered and making allegations about things that never happened. And in order for you to speak to, oh, are you talking about what I was saying in the bathroom that I posted on social media that under normal circumstances you would have no notice or information about? It wouldn't even be on your radar. If you're not targeting me, if you're not gang stalking, if somebody's just going off and speaking crazy stuff, it wouldn't even bother you. Just let them talk. It doesn't matter. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to get any traction if the person is just crazy and imagining it. Moreover, how do you even know about it? And you are necessarily admitting that you are guilty of the very allegations while you do so, while you harass me, while you're talking about the corporate office is emailing you about that which is nothing that a corporate office should be concerned about or even know about. My social media is not Erica Lorraine Spencer. And guess what? Erica Lorraine Spencer, even that in and of itself doesn't mean anything to you unless you know who Erica Lorraine Spencer is. This is an entity that, again, Tracy Banks, she cannot contend with me, and she never could. This is why she's been defaming me my whole life behind my back. She necessarily had to, come on, this high school graduate, this elderly, this because I don't have any problem with the elderly. I do not respect the demon possessed who are gang stalking over 55. This is pathetic. Okay, you're like I said before, I've said it before in the history of my documentation. I've been cracking jokes on the gang stalking geezers for a long time. You are a half a block, a half step. You are an avenue away, a boulevard from what is meeting your maker. Okay, you're up there. Why would you be playing with your life? Because that's what you're doing. You're playing, you're like this close. Okay, you're right there. Okay, you should be taking your life very seriously, and the gang stalking geezers clearly do not. These are demons that have decades in wickedness. I don't respect Satan. Satan doesn't have an age. These are demons. These are sex offenders. These are child rapists, and they've been engaged in that for a long time. And I want to be clear, they're the most vicious, by the way, because they've grown old as demons. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and Tracy Banks is making an admission about that, which doesn't even make any sense. But even if it is true, the corporate office is targeting me. Why does the corporate office know who I am? Why are you're speaking to the fact that you're bothered? You know what Tracy Banks is scared about? Because she knows about all that light activity I documented inside of her apartment where she was engaged in gang stalking, and she thought that I was going to be dead and you were never going to really even get the point of what the light activity is about, that you were never even going to really listen to me, then that she was going to be able to steal my intellectual property and change the whole point of what that significance of that is anyway. All right, and get it far away from anything that pertaining to gang stalking me. It was going to be something else. They don't even know what it is. Those are demons. She's an intellectually inferior creature. Okay, who was not my mother. She's a liar. Okay, and when you're lying about that, everything that you heard Tracy Banks say is a lie. Okay. She's engaging in the pattern of conduct as an entity. And in that video, in the podcast that you're listening to, I also capture pictures of Tracy Banks then calling herself tattling on me. This is, again, a 60-year-old child. Okay, them wrinkles speak to, she don't look like a child. She don't look young at all. Them wrinkles are directly contradicting that. But the behavior, the character, is that of a child. She's going and talking to the employee, the gang stalkers I've very heavily documented gang stalkers that work for the management company, and it does not matter regardless, because we're on the comic, and I'm speaking to that period, because this is an entity that's engaging in what is contending that they're not engaged in monitoring. This is the position of the government. This is the position. It's not a tenable position, but this is nonetheless the position of the people of the state. Oh, they're not here gang stalking. Okay, so you're here telling, going to the pool and telling, you'll see pictures of her. It's like she's snitching, and tell them, oh, she's in the laundry room. She's in the laundry room right now, and I'm in the laundry room right now with a resident who has invited me. You can hear him in the background. While he's a part of the pattern of conduct, but this is an entity, they act like they're my friend. They act like, and that's fine. You can act all you want, and I'm just going to act like I don't know what's going on. So we can all act together until there is no acting, and because you're not going to be able to act like you're not being prosecuted. You're not going to be able to act like you don't have a judgment against you. You're not going to be able to act like you're not going to pay me my damages. You're not going to act like you're not getting locked up, because there's no acting. You're going to be behind those bars, and that's not in any act. You're going to be in that mental facility, and there's no acting out of that. But this is what an entity is doing. This is how they behave. This is how this system exists and operates. And this is me showing you the malice of a mentally ill entity that is engaging in what is a pattern of targeting you, not just physically, but i.e. stalking you, but targeting you psychologically. And doing so in order to try to drive you, make you think that you are crazy. In other words, that's the only way that an entity can, quote unquote, drive you crazy, make you believe that you are crazy. And also to, in my case, where the entity doesn't have that, the entity has been met with what is a prosecution evidence of you targeting, and everything that you say is evidence of you targeting, because you're always engaging in why are you bothering me if you're not targeting me? I'm using my phone like you use your phone. I'm talking about that which I'm free to talk about. I'm on social media, which shouldn't even be brought to your attention if I'm such a nobody, because I certainly don't have any followers. Tracy Banks is subscribing to my channel under false fake accounts, while she's talking about TikTok that she knows I don't publish anything on. TikTok is my evidence, though. It's sitting there, but I don't publish anything to that account. TikTok is engaged in censorship. TikTok is engaged in obstruction. TikTok is a gang stalking third party online and in LA, where they're headquartered. I've already prosecuted LA. This is the P.O.C, and she's engaged in speaking to and exposing her severe mental instability, because everything that she's saying, as I'm doing in this podcast excerpt right here, it's analyzing the psychopath. You are getting committed, honey. You're getting committed. And this is an entity that's engaging in what is years of lying on my character. You saw that helicopter floating over my head. You saw that psychotic break that this entity shared in together. And then you saw that psychopath, in pictures, and you heard her in the audible activity come and lie about how she knew I was in the laundry room, why she's there, and why she's in my face, because she got an email from the corporate office that is speaking about that which is evidence of you targeting me as the people of the state. And good, I already know that, because that's why the apartments are filled with engineer light. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and that's why the entity is targeting by helicopter and planes. And it remains criminal whether I am on the contract to reside here or not. It remains a criminal act that you're being prosecuted for. And by the way, even when you are engaging in that pattern of conduct and I am at Starbucks, I'm still prosecuting this corporate entity. And that's why the fake son's not over Woodside Senior Park. There's no way for you to avoid that. And when you engage in kidnapping me, which the corporate entity that emailed Tracy Banks is guilty of, I'm prosecuting you for that. While the fake son remains over me, in other words, at Upland, California, I'm prosecuting Avaneth Capital Management. That's not the natural environment. That's not sunlight inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, who is very much triggered when they know that I'm capturing a pattern while Engineer Light fills this apartment that I'm inside of. That's what's really going on. Now, you're not going to target and harass me because you're being prosecuted and shown to be a raging psychopath sex offender who tried to kill me and steal my money on top of it. Because you're scared, because everybody else knows that I'm right, and I've been right. Because that's all that these demons care about, is the way that it looks. They care about optics. They don't care about actually being wrong. They care about being proven wrong in front of everybody else. This is why you're being federally prosecuted in front of the world. Because even the courts that are gang stalking, They have to be shown to be engaging in this pattern of conduct, to be forced to do what they are supposed to do. That's why. That's why Jason Fields is no hero. Jason Fields is gang stalking me with Tracy Banks. I just want to be clear. This demon is very much engaged in targeting me and harassing me because he is hostile while I speak to what you listen to my analysis while the entity is stalking me by helicopter. Because while you look at that visual, you are thinking about the entity that lied on my character. Jason Fields is a part of lying on my character. Thought that gang stalking me was going to coerce me, or why would you try to coerce anybody anyway? And you're gang stalk. That's basically tantamount to putting a gun to somebody's head. You're gonna date me. You're going to talk to me. You're gonna let me back in your life. So that the calculated long-term strategy for that same violence is gang stalking me with my fake mother and your lesbian wife. Who are all engaged in, they're all engaged in having sex with each other while they chant my name and have sex with little kids, and they call that witchcraft. And this is why they're all walking around with inflamed genitalia, with HIV, which they all claim that they got from me. And I don't know none of them. I haven't had sex with any of them. I don't have to make this up. These are facts and details that are relevant to the mental illness of this entity that has been obsessed with me, defaming my character, making up information that ties them to me in one way or another. All right, while they've been engaged in what is lying on me and systematically stealing from me, which the corrupt government tried to legitimize. It is impossible to legitimize criminal activity by the government. But the corrupt government tried to legitimize criminal acts that it committed against me by gang stalking me. And that's because the gang stalker, that is the U.S. government, surmises that when you are engaging in targeting an American citizen, psychologically torturing them and engaging in criminal activity that is so unheard of, so unfathomable, so psychotic, so sick, so unthinkable, if anybody ever speaks of it, that targeted individual will appear crazy, sound crazy, and that is how you will get them and pin them down as mentally ill as a matter of law, because that's exactly what that government will do, declare you as mentally ill when you try to report that the government is targeting you. That's literally the government's P.O.C. The government didn't even have that. The government doesn't have me reporting to anybody about its own pattern of conduct. The government has been trying to and failing at, because you cannot contend with the evidence of you stalking. All you do is document the stalker. The documentation proves that they are the stalker. When you are the stalker, you are not then countering with the fact that you're mentally ill. The person that's documenting you stalking them is mentally ill. I'm sorry. That's not how that works. In fact, I'm not mentally ill. That's why I have the evidence of you stalking me. And you're not just stalking me. You're stalking in some of the most unheard of ways ever. People literally have to sit up and study what it is that I am describing and listen to and give ear to it in order to understand not the targeted individual's problem, but the stalker's problem. That is no reflection on the targeted individual. As I advocate on behalf of American citizens and people across the globe, by the way, the United States government is targeting those that are outside of the U.S., murdering those that are outside of the U.S. for the same corrupt purposes that Tracy Banks has. Because you're a child of God, because you're wealthy and you don't know it, because you're royalty and you have no idea who your identity is, you don't know who you are, you don't know who you're related to. You were kidnapped. You don't know that the people you've been living around telling you that they're your family, that they're not your family. That's not all that there is to it, that there's a lot more that they're not telling you about, and that they've got an insurance policy on your head. They plan to kill you at a certain point in your life, but they keep you around just to continue to steal your assets, steal your money. And when that's over with, they're going to take you out. And the government is in on that. Hence the stalking by helicopter, stalking by police, the kidnapping, the false allegations. You have to falsely allege something against me in order to kidnap me, because I'm not a criminal. They literally did it to somebody that is an attorney. I'm literally an esquire. You made up information about me. I don't even have the history of somebody that fits that description. And the government is blatantly showing you that it just makes up information. That's what the government is showing you. By targeting me, it's telling you and showing you the world that the government just makes up information, just makes it up. And they were so confident that it was going to work. They did it against someone like myself, where it doesn't even make sense on its face, nor in substance. I wanted to go through this because this is an entity that engages in the absurdity of the stalking that I'm capturing. And then Tracy Banks, who, again, she's a fool, and that's why she thought that it was okay and appropriate or not weird at all, not obvious that she would engage in what is walking up on me in the laundry room because she lives there. And it is equally stalking. It is the evidence of her stalking and monitoring. It's the evidence of her being a third party co-conspiring in my murder with the entire apartment complex. The entire apartment complex. She is captured in images. You'll see her standing outside of the pool. You'll see the engineer light, the amber light all over that apartment building. That's the same apartment building where the entity has the fake sun over it in the morning. This is already on the record. This is speaking to the fact that she is targeting while she is, and while you're targeting and stalking, you don't have any legitimate any legitimate point or anything to say about the target individual you're stalking. It's the government. And this is what the entity also doesn't recognize. You understand you don't have a point, right? Everything that you're talking about, you're talking while you're stalking. The entity doesn't understand that, and that's because they are literally incompetent. They are learning about the ways in which they are being held responsible. They are learning how they are being exposed and what is not, under any circumstances, a mystery, a secret, and also what is not going to be accepted. It is entirely unacceptable. They're learning while I'm prosecuting them. So they absolutely are learning. Okay. But this is the entity that's engaging in, she's literally like, you're stalking. She's stalking under all circumstances. There's nothing that she's talking about that matters. She's stalking, period. The P.O.C. is underway. There is absolutely nothing legitimate that you have to say. The target individual is not a criminal. The target individual is not engaging in anything that is, you're not dealing with somebody that's breaking the law, that's violating crime. And were the entity, for example, the kidnapping pursuant to the municipal code, remember, Tracy Banks stole my money and my property. Tracy Banks stole my ID. Tracy Banks is a gang stalking organizer, all right? And she has engaged in what is stealing from me strategically to have me in that oppressive state, and then wants to gang stalk with the police, who are then going to stalk you. Remember, what they're talking about, you're stalking while you're talking. That's including the demons wearing police uniforms. They are talking while they're stalking. You do not have a legitimate point. You're stalking. While you're talking about the municipal code, don't forget context, you're the one that stole my money and my property so that I would be outside, because you thought you're going to be able to murder me and depict me as being mentally ill while you've been gang stalking me. The entity creates that circumstance. Moreover, I'm at some other third party. Some third party is the one who's in my presence. You can hear them in the podcast, and they are stating that which is not true. You don't have to explain anything. She's psychotic. You don't have to explain anything to her. But I'm not there seeing Tracy Banks, so she is literally like, she's gonna tell me over the whole apartment, I can't go there to see anybody. It's his apartment. I can go if I meet somebody else and she invites me or whoever. Tracy is psychotic. She is psychotic. But this is how she is behaving. Okay, this is someone that thought that she was able to control because I'm respectful, because I thought she was my mother, because I thought she loved me, because I thought she had my best interests at heart. She has never been one that is, under any circumstances, even capable of lording over my life. I don't belong to her, and none of you. I just want to be clear. Your parents, you respect them. The Bible says to love and honor your parents. Tracy Banks isn't even that, but the Bible says to honor your parents. And it also says for parents not to exasperate your children. What does that mean? Don't trigger them, don't provoke them. And even so, that doesn't give us as children a right to dishonor them. We're going to stand before the Lord God, okay? And you are blessed to honor your family. But the Lord God also says, who is my mother and father, but he who does the will of who is my mother and brother, but he who does the will of my father. And so what that is speaking to is the fact of, you may be very well relatives of mine. She's not even my biological mother, but you may very well be my relatives of mine, but you're not family. These are not my people. These are demons. And they've been targeting me, literally trying to kill me. You hate me so much, you're envious of me, you want to be me, you want my pores of my skin. All right, you wish that you could steal my hair and the curl of my lashes, like the everything about me, the tone of my voice, like you tried to mimic all that. You're sick, you're psychotic, you worship my image, okay? And then you're hostile to me because I'm not. That's really what it is. You're scared about what I've documented about you. You're fearful of what it is that's exposed about you. You're mad because I won't communicate with you. And you don't control me. And you never did. And you do not, nor do I, belong to even your mother that gives birth to you. You belong to the Lord God who created you. And that is because even if you were to be abandoned by your mother and your father, the Lord God is the one who created you. Don't you ever forget that. Tracy Banks is out here. First of all, she's a raging psychopath. So there's that. But she's behaving as though this is the psychotic control freak that's stalking me in a helicopter. You're seeing it in the behavior of Tracy Banks. You don't control me. What is wrong with you? She's psychotic. Making up information by the second. Oh, the corporate office emailed me about you're taking pictures on the inside, and she thought that, oh God, you got me. Oh no, you told him that I took pictures of his. I do not care. They're all gang stalking me, first of all, and second of all, this is an entity that's engaged in what is the pattern of conduct. And it's evidence. So if you think that that's going to throw me off because you're monitoring and you are aware of what it is, they know everything that I take pictures of while they're engaging in criminal surveillance on my device. Tracy is a demon. I was documenting her pacing inside of her apartment. She's going to be committed. She's going in a straitjacket. And this is an entity she's admitting to monitoring while she's talking about pictures on the inside of his apartment and that they were posted on TikTok. And that's to throw you off, right? This demon knows where I'm posting my my evidence, and do I seem like I care? I'm literally maintaining an investigation. You're the one that can't handle the truth. You're the one that has to out here gang stalk somebody and then at the same time act like you're not. That's why your pattern of conduct is going to have you committed. That's exactly why. The entity is the one that's engaging in this passive-aggressive, microaggressive P.O.C., but at the same time stalking conspicuously in helicopter. There's nothing microaggressive about it. While you sit around acting like nothing's happening, you're going to be committed. You've shown your own mental illness. You've shown your own criminal engagement. Because you are not so bright after all. Because you get away with killing people as a population of stalkers does not make you capable or competent or intelligent. You can't deal with reality. You can't deal with facts. You can't even bear the truth about your true character when somebody that's not fazed by what you do and say speaks to the truth of it. So you're talking about me taking pictures of his apartment on the inside, which is, again, of no consequence. And she's throwing out information about what she's monitoring, remember, don't be distracted. Tracy Banks, this entity would love for you to just focus on Tracy as the bad guy. No. Tracy is a puppet. Tracy's a puppet. This is a government system. This is a government takedown. Okay? Tracy's a puppet. All right? So these are puppets of Satan. But Tracy is speaking to evidence that she's criminally monitoring. That's why you're referring to pictures that are occurring on the inside of a private space, right? Inside of his apartment. Okay, technically under the law, this is a third party, and this is a facilitating venue, but I maintain my privacy rights because the government is targeting me. The people of the state have waived their privacy. They don't have none. But while they maintain their illusion, nobody's gang stalking. That's not happening. Everybody's acting like nothing's happening. Okay, well, he's inside of his apartment, and I'm publishing pictures on my website. And on my website, not on anything TikTok, which this demon knows that. She doesn't want to speak too much about what she knows. Let me be clear. She's psychotic. She's obsessed with me. She's obsessed with my heartbeat. She's obsessed with how many times I blink. She's monitoring my vagina. This is an entity that's monitoring together. The demons that are stalking me in the Upland Public Library bathroom are doing so with Tracy Banks. It's an entity. Tracy Banks has not stopped keeping surveillance of my vagina. Okay? Don't forget about that fact. This is an entity that knows very well that she's speaking of TikTok when she knows I'm not publishing on TikTok. And that's proven. Because the entity that is stalking me by helicopter knows exactly where I'm at and is doing so pursuant to what they know I'm doing on my device. And you are aware that I didn't publish anything on TikTok. And because you like lying like that, because you like lying about being my biological mother, because you like lying about being me, lying about me being dead, this is speaking to her character, how she has absolutely no credibility whatsoever, and neither does this entity. This is the one that is engaged in stalking, and she's talking to the people of the state at the pool who work for the corporate office, who work for the company, who are also gang stalking residents, and they're going to prison. But she's talking to them about that, which is also of no consequence. So what? I'm here here not breaking in. I'm here with a third party who was free to invite me to be here, and this is Tracy that can't control that. So this is a a subtle psychiatric breakdown as well. She can't control anything. She can't stop. Everything that she's talking about is of no consequence. She's going out of way. Literally, I just want to be clear, that harassing and hostile encounter is literally the product of her just wanting to be in my presence. That was the only way that she could be in my presence, by coming to harass me, because she knows it's not going to be a cheerful, hey, how you doing? You know, I love you and I miss you. When she's offering me hotel rooms, like she did while she's stalking at Stater Brothers, I don't want to talk about a hotel room. Let's talk about how you stole my money and went into a courtroom, and you have people out here acting like they're me. You're acting like you're me. You're stealing my credit cards and having money funneled across overseas. Let's talk about that. That's not what she's talking about, though. She's talking about a hotel room because she thinks I'm going to jump up. And who cares about what a creature thinks? She's literally a lower being. Okay? She's advanced in age, but she's not advanced intellectually. She's a demon. All right? And this is why you're targeting a relative, because you are a demon. That's Satan. That's Satan. That's abnormal. That's not normal. If you think that it's normal to just be mean because you think you have a reason, because somebody did whatever it is, it's not normal. It is wicked. It is of the devil. It literally is. That is entirely abnormal to gang stalk anybody, let alone your relative. It's the most hate-filled thing that you could do. Moreover, the only thing that is gang stalking is a demon-possessed person. So this is literally a demon. But even the lies that she is stating in the podcast that you're listening to, the evidence of the P.O.C. is proof, tangible evidence that's already proven. She's lying, and I already have the proof of the P.O.C. that she's lying. And what she's speaking to, that she only learned through the email by the corporate office, she's lying. It's an admission to monitoring. The evidence of the P.O.C. already establishes this. She's a psychopath who wanted to come and threaten me, and she's mad because of the video documentation that I just captured where she lives. And honey, I get video evidence where I'm up in California and the entity's talking about helicopter. That's equally damning to you. If you think it's because I'm at Woodside, that's because you have no idea what's going on. You're going to prison under all circumstances. Everywhere that I'm being stalked by helicopter is going right back to you. You are the first person that's getting locked up. The first one. So don't be bothered because I'm getting it at Woodside Senior Apartments. Everybody already knows that you wish that you could be me. You couldn't have been me when you were my age, let alone now. And you can't train anybody. You can't train any gang stalking Jezebel with black kneecaps and rug burns, okay, who's engaging with his high sexual activity in order to try to get some sort of spiritual. No, honey, that's not where my spiritual authority comes from. You are not even approaching where I'm at. You're down in the muck. You're never going to get there. That's not the route. The entity is engaging in what it's targeting, and you can't train anybody to try to be me. It's impossible. And you certainly aren't going to get any witchcraft to try to steal my brain power and somehow suck everything that I learned in law school. You're a fool. This was literally a trap for you. While you thought you were setting me up, honey, this is a trap for the books, for the record books. Okay, this is the P.O.C. This is just additional analysis. This is relevant context. The entity that is monitoring me while I have been at Woodside, where I am subject to surveillance, and the entity, there is no area of law where you are legitimately targeting, and that's what the entity is doing. You're speaking to targeting, and you're going to tell I'm taking pictures of her. I got pictures of her stalking. You can hear her voice. She's stalking. And then she's over there. Oh, Erica, she's over there. She's like pointing at me and talking while I'm in the laundromat. So what? So what? But that's what she did, and she's doing so pursuant to stalking, and this is basically a product of her being obsessed with me. Just like the entity that's stalking my helicopter, understand that this entity is obsessed with me, and Tracy Banks has been obsessed with me, and she is very much having a breakdown, and it is being communicated through hostility. So while and remember, she's not a relative well, she's a relative, but she is not under the law is what I'm getting to. Under the law, she has no right to be in my presence. And even while remember, the entity is always in my presence because they're always stalking. And I'm going to prosecute for that. It's gang stalking. They're all criminals. The government has no warrant or probable cause. It does not exist to do what the government is doing. And the government is stalking you through everyone, everywhere, at all times. They're stalking while they live next to you. They're stalking while they work with you. They're stalking while they're traveling around you. There's no constitutional right for it. And that's why the prosecution is so serious, because of the terrorism that the government's engaging in. And the government tells on everybody through the spectacular evidence that I have maintained the presence of mind to capture. And the entity is depleted and always is failing and always serving my prosecutorial purposes of having gang stalkers committed and having them prosecuted as domestic terrorists, and forever changing the trajectory of their life and the way that they will be treated in the United States if they are not subject to deportation. And the only ones that are not subject to deportation are those that are natural born citizens and not otherwise to be deported for terrorism. Okay, and it very well may, it may very well exceed deportation for more than just not being a natural born citizen. That's just a common basis. You could be deported whether or not you're a natural born citizen as well. If your parents were from some other country and then you were born here, if you think that that's your safety to stay here, don't be deceived by that, because there is no constitutional protection for you to be able to stay here. This is terrorism. Understand, all bets are off with terrorism, and you should not expect that you're staying here. That's just where I have started. That's the default level. Do not expect that you're protected with regard to deportation because you're a natural born citizen, because your parents that are not from here gave birth to you here, and that you're not going to be subject to deportation. Do not fool yourself. Do not gain a false sense of confidence. For my purposes of my prosecution, that is the bar that I am setting. That's the standard bar. The federal government, and it may very well found to be in the interest of justice, that even you that are born amongst immigrants in the United States are subject to deportation as well. Do not gain a false sense of confidence. You do not have it. You have no reason to expect that you will stay in this country. You are an enemy, an established one, and you will be treated as such. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:27 p.m.